So, this is part 3 of my speech, TitanicMechanic. So, I said it in part 2 of my speech, TitanicMechanic. The proof that things are true is that they work. And I describe it with the sentence, except an apple that is poisoned, that things that should work scientifically don't work sometimes. And everyone, I think, gets why I created this sentence, except an apple that is poisoned, to describe things that should work scientifically but don't work. And of course, it's combined with a fairy tale. I think everyone knows Schneewittchen. To go ahead, if you have enough sheker in your blood, if you have enough sheker in your blood, you don't have to eat at all, and you don't have to sleep at all. It's true. It's really true. Sheker is a Turkish word. It describes sugar. It describes sugar, Zucker in Germany. But in my sentence, I always use the Turkish word. This has a reason. This has a reason, and but I don't want to mention this reason here. But it has a reason that in this sentence that is true, really true. I use a Turkish word. If you have enough sheker in your blood, you don't have to eat at all, and you don't have to sleep at all. It's true. You don't have to eat and sleep. Sheker. For me, it's very important that I mentioned it in my speech here, TitanicMechanic. It's not normal to work. All the jobs I mentioned, these jobs in part 1 of my speech, TitanicMechanic, I mentioned jobs in part 2 of my speech, TitanicMechanic, and of course I can mention it in part 3 of my speech, TitanicMechanic 2. You don't need to work. There is something wrong. It's considered as normal that everyone has a job, but it's crazy that people have jobs. And it's of course combined. I want to go too deep in this topic, but I think there is something wrong what it's told about the history, really. It sounds weird, but I think you can look it up. It could be true. It's combined with everything I say. It's combined with what I said. You don't have to eat and to sleep at all. Combined with the Turkish word sheker and what it describes. I think I have made many inventions, new inventions, but this I'm absolutely sure was once this way. There is an organization everyone knows that could be responsible for that. It's, of course, you can say Benimusik is a crazy dude, but for me it's important. This organization, I don't have to mention them. It could be true that they are a bit weird, and that they could be responsible for incredible truths that are not known anymore, and what seems to be what in Germany is described with Verschwörungstheorien, a crazy dude who has crazy ideas. I think it's a bit the other way around, and what the proof is, this organization is in their behavior worldwide, the proof that they could be what other people are considered as, simply how they are. To go ahead, for me it's important. I think Fortschritt is an obvious Rückschritt. And this is, I think, obvious. These are German words, Fortschritt and Rückschritt. Fortschritt is an obvious Rückschritt. I often use this sentence, Elfenworld versus Marzahn, combined with the Berlin district, Marzahn. Elf's world versus Marzahn in Berlin. Everyone gets what this discrepancy could mean. For me, very important is Marzahn looks a bit, in a way, completely in a way the other way around than, for example, the city Venice in Italy. And Marzahn in Berlin also looks the other way around. Also, of course, Berlin is a huge city, but Marzahn, the district, looks also a bit the other way around than, for example, many districts in London, Great Britain. And Marzahn in Berlin looks, I think, the other way around than many cities, for example, or that perhaps California. I never was in USA. It's my dream to go to the USA, but I'm poor monetary. But Marzahn in Berlin, I think it's another vibe. Marzahn in Berlin with California, perhaps even combined with the 1960s years, and combined with the idea of Woodstock, the Woodstock Festival in 1969. For me, I think I've proven it. Everyone gets used to it, that everyone has a job, but it's the other way around. You don't need to work. It's crazy to work. You have to do a few things, of course. It's not making fun to do nothing. But, and of course, sometimes you have to do things a few 30 minutes that makes not so incredible fun, of course. But to work and to have a job is crazy. This is crazy, to work and to have a job. 40 years of your life. Let's have a last look at the time. So, if you keep that in mind, I hope I haven't forgotten anything. For me, it's important. Every human has the same worth. But if a girl sits next to me, I think her diadem is a bit taller than me. This is my law, the only law. Or I wrote it down the other way. Every human has the same worth, but girls are a bit above men in my world. I'm a romantic person, and for me it's important. You can say it sounds a bit weird what Benimusik is saying, for example, in this speech, TitanicMechanic, but it isn't weird. And my proof is, let's look at the time. My proof that it's not so weird is you can have a look how I talk and how I behave, and it sounds, what the German word describes with angeben. I don't know the English translation. It sounds a bit arrogant, but it isn't arrogant. I use it here. You can do what the German word angeben is describing. I like it if people do this. Angeben. I don't right now the English translation, but I like it when people do this, what the German word angeben describes. I don't do it so much. I don't have so much reasons right now, but I remember a school friend of me. I hope he's not angry if I mention him, or a friend, or I knew him quite good. Christian Fay, and he said once, "Gib halt nicht so an," to someone on the schoolyard. I still have the sentence in my mind 20 years after he said it, because I like angeben. I love it when people do this, what the German word angeben describes. But back to my topic, let's look at the time. That what I said in my speech, TitanicMechanic, I want to prove it with my intelligence. It's the proof that I'm right. Besides that, everyone is intelligent and everyone gets what I mean. But here I don't mean it in an angeben way, to use a German word. My intelligence is the proof that I'm right. So this was my speech, TitanicMechanic, from Benimusik. I hope I haven't forgotten anything. No jobs needed. You don't need jobs. It's crazy to have jobs. So let's look at the time. So this was my speech, TitanicMechanic.